very good morning to sir and ma'am. My name is SWATHI. I am pursuing MA English in Thiagarajar College, Madurai. I am really honored to present my paper in this international conference. My paper deals with chains of repression and violence in 1,000 Suns by Khaled Hosseini by using a subaltern study. I have chapterized my papers in my paper chapter 1 dealt with introduction, chapter 2 with the review of literature, chapter 3 dealt with research methodology, theoretical background and discussion is on chapter 4, chapter 5 focuses on findings and suggestions, and finally I have given references where I have taken the sources. So in chapter 1 introduction we can comes under colonialism. So basically, colonialism is like a practice or a policy that is controlled by one people over another people in certain areas. Often by establishing certain colonies, and generally their aim is about economic dominance. In this process of colonizations, colonizers may impose their religion, language, income, economics and other cultural practices also. The foreign administrators rule their own territory, others' territory, and pursuit of their interest and seeking the benefit from the colonized regions, peoples, and the resources. Though colonialism has existed since ancient times, the concept is most strongly associated with the European colonial period, that is starting from 15th century. Here there are it comes under post-colonialism and neo-colonialism, and they have a shifted relations and ideologies of colonialism, justifying the concepts and development for the outer space for colonization. So one such subgenre under colonialism is post-colonial theory, where post-colonial theory focuses on the reading and writing of literature in a written form previously or currently in a colonized countries. So this literature is composed of colonizing countries that deals with the colonization of colonized peoples. It was greatly interested in the cultures of the colonizer and the colonized. Post-colonial theory seeks to mainly critically investigate what happens when two cultures clash and one of them follow ideologically fashions itself as superior and other assumes like a dominance and control over the other race or religion. And this study also focuses on post-colonial feminism also. So post-colonial feminism is a form of feminism that developed as a response to feminism, seemingly focusing the experience of the women in Western cultures, where the ideas of the indigenous and other third world feminist movements into a mainstream Western feminism. Followed by that, there is also a subaltern study that I used in this work. So subaltern is someone with a low ranking in a social or political or other hierarchy. It can also mean someone who has been completely marginalized or oppressed. So the subaltern is a technical term for a certain kind of a dispossessed person. It is a person who fits within the model of the oppressed as the being so marginalized as to not even have the voice of the oppressed ones. So here my research questions is all about whether cultural analysis and content analysis is used whether it is okay with 1,000 Splendid Suns, and discussing about the post-colonial and subaltern reading of this novel, having so many stereotypes of women, like women as a feeble, ignorant and irrational. There are so many mistreatment of women and dictatorship. So suggesting the other novels that contain subaltern study in all colonial novels. The purpose of the study is to explore the oppressed and marginalized Afghan women who are made subaltern socially and religiously. It also reveals the ability of women to endure the violence and to create the vision of a woman empowerment through their suppressed bodies. The primary data of research is based on the text 1,000 Splendid Suns by Khaled Hosseini. Further, it also the secondary sources are like articles, PhD thesis, MPhil thesis and reviews are mentioned in the reference list I have used. The selected text is actually analyzed under the theoretical framework of the theory of subaltern, which is focused by Spivak, Gayatri Chakravarti Spivak. This paper dismantles the struggles of marginalized women from their survival and to free them from the suffocating chains of oppression and violence. In this novel, Nana, Mariam and Laila, being the subaltern, know the word endurance while having in a misconception social conditions. They show the degree of resistance and then also unite to stand against the societal prominence. Mariam, who is considered as a harami, sacrifices her life for Laila, and Laila becomes the voice of her coming generation who can challenge the subaltern attitude and speak out loudly. Utilizing the theory subaltern by Spivak, this paper answers the question whether really can the subaltern speak. Yes, it brings a message. If the subaltern group combines and stands against the unjust and oppression norms, they will no more remain a subaltern and will be applicable for and this paper will be applicable for academics and researchers as well. So, this study is distinctive because it explores a literature that portrays the stories of almost every home and corner of the society. Khaled Hosseini is an Afghan-American doctor and a fictional author. His different style in writing makes him prominent in the world of literature. The very first novel by Hosseini, The Kite Runner, got fame and became a New York Times bestsellers novel. This novel describes the class system during the Taliban rule in Afghanistan. Further, it also portrays the conflicts between Shia and Sunni and develops how patriarchal group or a community like Hazaras made a subaltern in the natural conditions. The Thousand Splendid Suns mainly focus on subaltern figures where Afghan women getting tortured instead of any community. The main objective of this research is to explore the oppressed and marginalized Afghan women who are made subaltern socially and religiously, to reveal the ability of a woman to endure the violence and to create the vision of empowerment through their suppression. The women in Afghanistan have been kept silenced with the Taliban's introduction and imposition of laws. Hosseini develops through this novel that such laws are implemented only to keep control over the subjugated gender and people. Claims in this regard that writing in the context of patriarchal theoretical notions, violence acquires overtones of control and will. Afghan women were also being deprived of natural and personal rights. The next rule commands cosmetics are forbidden, jewelry is forbidden, you will not wear charming clothes. Their public lives are also completely banished as per the desires of the patriarchs. You will not speak unless spoken to, you will not laugh in public. If you do, you will be beaten. They are even being observed minutely and are even not allowed to do things at a minor level as well. They are hard punishments against the fulfillment of some minor desires for the women, like you will not paint your nails. If you do, you will lose a finger. Getting education by every person is considered the basic right without considering the gender. But here Hosseini mentions that girls are forbidden from attending school. All schools for girls will be closed immediately. They are only the subaltern of the day and dependent who is bound to depend upon their dominated men, and women are forbidden from working. Hosseini postulates patriarchal Afghani culture where marriage isn't linked with romance or choice of the girl, but it is like to deal with of the male members. Mariam wants to protest against this constrained marriage or wants to refuse this marriage, considering it her religious and human right, but no one hears her. She is a subaltern and her voice dies under the four walls of a mudroom where she is locked till the day of her marriage. Mariam was an illegitimate person who would never have a legitimate claim to the things other people's had, things such as love, family, home, and acceptance. Here the author advocates the horrors of constrained marriages, and it results in no more than the destruction of human lives. According to the love of the Rashid for her wife, Mariam later turns to her because she can't give him a boy child, and later Rashid is completely immune to the terrible heartbreaks endured by Mariam due to her continuous miscarriages. Through this novel, A Thousand Splendid Suns, it portrays how women's roles are perceived in a patriarchal society within the four walls of their men's homes, in public places, or mainly in the context of being a woman. The lives of female protagonists Mariam and Laila are always in the process of struggles, journeys, and efforts, and they want to enjoy the experience of freedom, but are always trapped in the clutches of patriarchy. As Spivak puts a question that the male dominancy does not tolerate representation of a marginalized class, and their voice is silent, not to be equal to the powerful class of society. In the same way, the female characters portrayed by Hosseini are also not able to find their voices to be heard in the patriarchal society and system. Female characters represented in the novel are victims, marginalized and oppressed because of patriarchal ideologies. They are submissive, male-oriented and passive. But this study presents a new perspective of such subaltern characters. It contradicts the set beliefs that women are always born to endure the exploitation of the patriarchal mindset. It is proved through the development of the character of Mariam. In the end, Mariam represents the Afghan woman who are not marginalized, passive or subaltern. She neither remains a male-oriented nor victim-oriented construct of the third world women. She has the courage, determination, and power to decide what she would like to do. She is not the subaltern. She can speak, and she has the answer to every brutal act of patriarchy. The researcher stresses the need for a female bonding. Only they can encourage each other to break the dominant norms of patriarchy. Once Miriam is the representation of a typical Afghan woman, she is submissive, afraid, and passive. But the company of Layla makes her strong and conscious about her strength and subjugation. The sharing of grief and pleasure, knowledge, and information teaches them about the need for gender equality. The commitment against the male dominancy that developed the character of Mariam in the consequence of this female relationship. Finally, a subaltern being changed to a strong and decisive female character. Importantly, this union enables them to break the shackles of the social values, tradition, and customs, all set by their male members. Women also seem to be internalizing the essential patriarchal custom, which traps them further in the web of marginalization. And finally, I have